All right, so here's a little update. July 30th, Tuesday. I think it's Tuesday. These are all my newer beds. Now keep in mind, it's only my third year gardening, so I'm still learning. This is what I have to do to fight the insects, mostly the pill bugs and earwigs. I have to sow inside of cups, bottomless cups. And when they get big like that, then I can remove the cup. It's kind of a pain, but first year I had no issues. I got some beans hiding in here. See if I can get them without breaking them. A little big. Should be okay. Eggplants coming in. There's a couple coming in there. Cucumbers are pretty much done. I might be lucky to get one in there. I didn't get a whole lot of cucumbers this year. I didn't plant a lot. I planted, I think, 2 plants. Here's my harvest. Long beans, short beans, sun gold, green and yellow summer squash, a couple tomatoes. My onions didn't do well this year. Blackberries are good. That's my first couple. Here's my sunflower. Summer squash doing good. Here's my tomatoes. I like to do them on the fence. And then I just kind of guide them and train them up. And they do well. Storms don't bother them. The house does deflect it. You can see my deck garden up there, part of it. But this house kind of protects it. Everything is downhill in the back here, so the house really protects from bad weather for the most part. There's more chard in cups. There's a cherry tomato from the chipmunks. I'll take chipmunks all day. They're not really that big of a problem for me. I don't mind losing a cherry tomato or 2 overnight. This was an experiment. This overhead string trellis. Sorry about the fingers. I'm gonna have to come up with a more permanent plan. I extended the fence because these beans, these new style beans I'm growing, seem to want to keep going up. And once they got to this point, which is my 4-foot fence, they were just up in the air and falling over. So I added 2 more feet, and I think what I'm going to end up doing is some kind of conduit double overhead trellis around the whole perimeter. So let me try to make sense of this. You see these narrow beds? I squeezed them in here all along the end. They're all open to the earth, and my tomatoes do very well in them. Maybe a little crowded, but if I do that string trellis method that I'm talking about, I think the overhead, I think they'll be much better. Also double fenced, or else, because the first year I didn't have the double fence, and the deer would come in here and just eat the vines and kill everything. There's some more string beans I missed. A little small, but it's all right. I got enough. And this was just kind of for fun. I did a lot of pollinator stuff. They got some milkweed there, sunflowers. The first septic line runs right just beyond those rocks. So that's as far as I could go. This is my straw bale garden. This was very difficult to grow in. You could see the first year I had all the weeds under control. I kept it mulched, I kept the weeds down, but it is just a bear to do that. So I just hit it with a weed whacker now, and I'm growing in the straw bales, and that seems to be working well. Look at these squash. They're doing super good. Let me back out a little. Got a couple big ones here, a lot of small ones coming in. Still a little early. There's another one. I buried part of the vine underground in case the vine borer gets it. Then what's under the ground will be considered a new plant. There's a couple of monster ones. There's a really weird shaped one right there. Not sure what's going on with that one, but it'll be fine. I got some delicata squash mixed in here too somewhere. It's a tomato plant I threw in. It's doing really well. Nice big tomatoes, green ones on there. You got to condition these bales. You can't just plant them, and there's a whole process. But it's definitely easier to do those in here. If I put them right in the ground, it's just open season for all the critters. Just slowed them down a little bit. So eggplant. This is my best eggplant in the straw bale. I got one that's definitely ready over there. Come back with my cutters. Cucumber plant. This was one of my good cucumber plants too. Probably got one here. This is done. This plant is done. So should probably get this out of here. So that's my straw bale garden. There's another one I buried. Keep it going. This is a goji plant. I started with 3. I pretty much got 1 left, but there's some runners going underground starting a new plant. So I'm hoping that takes off. I had gojis in my old house and they were absolutely delicious. This is other side of the fence is my neighbor's property. Now you could see all that tall grass there. They don't do anything really. And this all was tall grass here in Wild. They didn't have the lawn service cut it. So that was one of the reasons that made this hard to grow over here, because it was just right up to my fence. I started hitting it with the weed whacker, and I think they kind of caught on that, hey, maybe we should cut over there. They also put their raised beds right there, and I kind of said it's not a good place for it. You got walnut trees right over your garden, and I actually helped them move them. But they're really not doing much with them. They're actually over there now, and there's nothing growing in them. They didn't plant this year. So, but that's that. That's the straw garden, straw bale garden. Look at that big sucker. And here's my compost. And it's all downhill from here. But you can see I had a pretty big ordeal here to find an area that I can grow in on this yard, because it's all a lot of septic lines and septic field, and this was one of the only areas. So we had to level it, put a retaining wall in. It was a pretty big ordeal, but it's working out. That's it. Add this cucumber to my harvest. And start bagging it all up. Check on the pooch. There she is. She's chilling in the heat. That's the update. Have a good night.